we're going to talk about the second half of 2025, the logistics market predictions. And I'm going to have Grace lead this one because there's a lot going on. So we're going to talk a little bit about what retailers are doing for peak season, maybe where supply chains are shifting, what trends are shaping up, for those 2026 budgets. Let's kick it off.
Yeah, so I think the biggest place I want to start right now is, of course, at the end of the day, if consumers aren't buying things and we aren't moving things and logistics slows down, so of course you kind of want to look at the consumer and see what their focus is, right? And I clearly I think inflation right now is still a question out there for a lot of people now, depending on where you're going for your inflation news. There's back and forth of whether or not what's causing the inflation. At the end of the day, we have it's still affecting consumer spending, regardless of what number you want to throw out
The
there.
perception is there.
The perception is there, and that perception and that concern too is also a reason why the feds have held off on figuring out what to do with interest rates as well. I mean, if you saw the last time that they talked, this whole unknown scenario of tariffs, and not so much, I don't think it's 100% so much of what will the tariffs be, but just how companies and how consumers are going to react to the tariffs, as well as we start to see those final tariff numbers come out here soon. I think that is like their biggest concern, is that we just don't know how the economy is going to react to whatever numbers you land on. So we're just kind of in this state of we don't know what to do as well. Now, they have said it's quite unlikely that they'll do it anytime soon. When I say soon, in the next 30 days or so, because again, what you could call the inflation psychology of it all isn't showing positive signs for them right now. Of course, we've got that one big, beautiful bill, which I actually I don't hate the marketing behind. I love giving bills a fun name.
He loves to phrase things. He is
Yeah,
he's a marketer.
He is low key a marketer. I said that someone like, and for as someone who's like maybe doing this job more on a day to day basis, I don't hate him for understanding the storyline and sticking to it. Like
The sleepy Joe Biden, and
yeah, or even
he
just
knows how
like,
to name something.
yeah, the way that how good he is at reminding us it was Biden's fault is almost, at this point, from a marketing perspective, like, boy, do we want a CEO who understands the talking points, So
You got to repeat it 7 times, right? In
yeah,
order for somebody to buy.
exactly. So there's like a level where now that I'm like a PR marketing girl, like I kind of love it. So, but I will say the outcome of that bill should be positive for economic reasons. But again, it's not trickle down economics, but it is going to be a trickle effect. So I don't think that we're going to see. I think we're going to see more spending. We just do every year around Christmas, right? We see at the end of the year Christmas gifts, etc. I mean, even Halloween candy last year saw a slight increase. I trust the American consumer to spend more money this year than they did last year. That's, if there's something that we can do in distress, it's we will find a way to spend more money. We're really good at that. Now, will that be through buy now, pay laters? Will that be through loans? Will that be hoping that we can file our taxes as soon as possible and get that check at the end of January and just get through that time period? Probably. That's the American as well. We're always trying to find a way around. And so I don't think we're going to see anything crazy that we didn't expect. I honestly think we'll see probably trends much like we saw last holiday season, much like we saw the school season. I do know that a lot of, especially for more of the school season products, early fall products, etc., going back to school clothes, all that stuff, I think we started to see shippers bring that stuff in early, trying to some of the potential tariff rules that they'll have to deal with throughout the fall. So I think in terms of inventory, I don't think we'll have a problem. But if we all remember correctly, few years back, right, people kind of responded this way. We had a lot of inventory in, which meant that, there's a lot of inventory we had to get through over the second half of the year. So, I again, I just don't think that if there's carriers out there watching or like, I can't wait for rates, I don't think you're going to see rates start to spike up. I also don't think, as much as we're doing in regulation for the trucking side, I agree. I don't think we're going to see just like a complete wash of the market due to any ELP mandates, etc. I think maybe we'll see kind of
Uh,
drivers
The
moving around.
ELP is the English
Uh,
language proficiency, right?
yeah, yeah. I really don't think we're going to see a huge impact on that market. I think that shippers are already have been planning on it, have started to put those rules in. If there's anything we know about logistics providers and brokers, they're going to be clever in how they use their carriers and use them appropriately, right? Yes, will there be shippers who say don't bring this person who can't speak English well into our facility? Sure, but there's sure as hell going to be a lot of shippers who don't overly mandate that, and that freight will get moved as well. So I don't see any of that impacting the market. So I think we'll see kind of just this stagnant year.
Hmm.
I don't like see when it comes to maybe a recession. I think we would have saw signs of that by now, to be honest with you. I think maybe that delay in the tariffs kind of helped with that. I think I want to give maybe the consumer credit to kind of avoid that situation. Um, but we'll start to see what is coming in through a lot of these ports, and see what consumer spending is like, and what Amazon Prime Day and all of that will look like as well. Because I think Amazon Prime Day is either happening right now or next.
It's right now.
Yeah.
I was going to bring that up because one of the, and this is very anecdotal because it's only one Amazon seller that I saw say this on my X feed, and he
Uh-oh.
was saying that sales were way down, but he expected
Um,
it.
yeah.
So what he had done is raise prices on. I mean, this is kind of typical for a lot of Amazon sellers. Is ahead of Prime Day, they'll raise their prices, so then that way the discount looks much deeper ahead of time. But he said even within he knew that sales were going to be down. And I think what's interesting about this sort of economic situation that we're in is, over the last 5 years, it was like this dramatic increase in things that we buy. And then it was this dramatic increase in experiences. And then now it kind of feels like, are we like kind of evening out? But then also with all of the uncertainty around tariffs and just that becoming like a kitchen table conversation,
Yeah.
is making people kind of reel in their spending habits, which I could argue probably needed to happen. You made the point
Totally.
earlier about, people putting like DoorDash and Klarna recently
Totally.
announced a partnership where if you are paying payments on a DoorDash food delivery, you have no business ordering DoorDash. And we have a record consumer debt. So we have all of these things that like the chickens are going to come home to roost eventually. And maybe all of this sort of uncertainty around the economy, maybe that it has forced people to take a step back from their probably irresponsible spending. I know it's had that effect on me,
Yeah.
especially from, like my ordering habits from like Timu and Shein. Like
Yes.
it's fallen off a cliff for me.
Yeah.
And I've heard that actually Timu is in a lot of trouble business wise. Like they've had to raise prices all across the board. There's a real danger of them just running out of money in general, following kind of the pattern of what happened to Wish.
Totally.
They're not getting that de minimis exemption anymore, which, anything under $800 shipped into the United States was arriving tax free. There's rumors that at first the de minimis was going to go away completely in 2026, but now or 2027, I believe.
Yeah.
But now it's going to be kind of done for with the big
Yes.
beautiful bill passing, that there was
Yeah.
some language in there that said that it was going to be gone completely. So that's, for a lot of global shippers, then that's something obviously to keep an eye on too. So I think it's just a lot of uncertainty, and maybe I was going to argue, well, maybe people are spending over the summertime more on experiences, but also anecdotally, I've seen a lot of like the wait times at like Disney World, which I am right down the road from. I don't know if you guys can hear that thunder in the background, but it was just a loud lightning crack as soon as I say Disney World. Maybe that means I need to go back.
Yeah. I
Um,
think so. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
take
Let's
it.
go to Disney World.
So, but the Disney World crowds, like they're maybe this has to do with Epic Universe recently opening, which is Universal's new theme park. But Disney World crowds are like way down. Like you can open up the app right now and like check the wait times in some of their different attractions, and it's not what you would expect. For a summertime, families vacationing to Disney. I think a lot of their money is actually going to cruises versus the theme parks, which admittedly need a lot of work, a lot of maintenance, a lot of revamps. RIP Two Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island. I don't want to get started on that, but
Yeah.
I know, pour one out for Rivers of America. Yay, can't wait for Cars Land. Dumbest decision in Magic Kingdom history, but that's just
Pour one out for,
for the water that will no longer exist inside of
look,
Magic
the
Kingdom.
listeners right now are like, did this just turn into a Disneyville
It
podcast?
can, no.
It did. I agree with you. I think we're starting to see signs, and we brought this up numerous times on this show, signs of that kind of lipstick index. But I mean, like the Labubus, I think are a perfect example, right?
What is it? Is it just a little stuffed animal?
Yeah, it's like a little stuffed animal, and I don't have one, but you know me,
But
if
they
I
look
could,
demonic. Have you heard that theory that they're like actually
yes,
demonic
yeah,
and
they're like devils, yeah, yeah,
it's the way
yeah.
for the devil to creep into your life in more ways than one?
Well, they're maybe for consumer spending they are because they've said that that's kind of a perfect example of it. Like I can't afford to take my kid to Disney, but I sure can afford to drive my kid to the local big mall and Pop Mart and try to grab one of these things, right? And
Hmm.
um I think that kind of showcases that we might be in that situation again where people are kind of holding off and saying, I think we've noticed even Michigan does this quite frequently, but a lot of like more in-state travel where we're
Hmm.
not going out of state or out of the country, but we're willing to drive, a few hours in state to have some type of vacation. And so I think I agree with you. I think that again, we're probably going to see a light uptick. We just do every single year. So to come back and but if I will say on that note, if we come back and back to school shopping or if Halloween shopping comes back down for the first time, and I mean I've covered that for like years now, then that's going to be really tell sign
Hmm.
of what's to come around the corner. So
Well, didn't a lot of these retailers like they purchase in advance
yes,
for a lot of to try to beat the tariffs? I heard it
yeah,
was like back in March they were purchasing back to school items in order to beat that April deadline of
yeah,
when the new tariffs would kick in. So they were trying to a lot of like Walmart's, Amazons were securing that product well
yeah,
ahead of time. And now it looks like we're going to have at the time of recording we have new tariffs taking place starting August 1st. But that's to be determined because who
yeah.
knows what's going to happen with a lot of those tariff announcements between now and that time period because we're recording this on July 9th for full transparency there. So we'll see what deals I guess are going to get made. But what I do think is encouraging is to see all the tariff revenue that we're starting to get. I think they estimate it by 300 billion by the end of the year,
Yeah.
and that is enormous. Hopefully, it helps cut down on some of our $26 trillion in debt, which the big beautiful bill adds a couple trillion more to that. So everybody else in the country is supposed to be financially and fiscally responsible, except for the U.S. government. So. That's neither here nor there. That's my little mini rant for today. But anything else, I guess, that people should be looking out for? I have a couple notes here. Um, Warehouse space is tight again. That makes sense. A lot of
Yes.
retailers were bulking up on a lot of their inventories well ahead of those tariff disruptions. Labor disruptions still loom. Um, Looks like some contracts were settled, of course. Geopolitical tensions, I think, are the big one between U.S. and China.
I will say though, on the warehousing, this just came out. I think it was in Wall Street Journal today, that they are seeing just a slight uptick of vacancies, and I think that's because people, again, it's just the uncertainty. They aren't going and leasing more space because they're just not sure of what that inventory situation will be like
Mhm.
after this too. So we'll probably continue to see that. I would say for the rest of this year until we see what spending is like in the fall.
Yeah, some of these stats, I just don't know how reliable they are until we get some more data in. I mean, even like consumer purchasing data, like a lot of these things we just don't know yet. Another a big one that just happened was UPS cutting 20,000 jobs in order to further invest in automation and reduce costs. We talked earlier in the show about drones, didn't mention UPS, but UPS is one of those companies, also DHL, that is piloting a lot of different, for lack of a better phrase, piloting a lot of different drone initiatives for some of their deliveries. So when I saw that they were making cuts, I was like, I wonder if that's a big reason why. And I don't know if
Um,
this is the case for you inside your Amazon account, but UPS was, whenever you go to make a return, UPS was always like the number one option. Now I have to click see more to pick UPS. So it's like Whole Foods,
Wow.
it's a couple other retailers. It's a new one in there. I'm blanking on the name. So it's Whole Foods, which is obviously Amazon owned, a couple other retailers, and then you have to click see more in order to choose UPS. So I thought that was interesting. Maybe that relationship is, there's some cracks that are starting to be shown.
Probably, yeah. No, you're probably 100% right on that. And on the DHL stuff, it's probably a lot of the warehousing stuff, right? They're
Mhm.
just not sure what that's going to be like. So investment on a lot of that stuff will pause.
Yeah, especially being so e-commerce heavy of what DHL is. Like UPS seems maybe a little bit more
Yeah, totally.
diversified
Yes.
versus like a DHL, which is almost all
Yeah.
e-commerce.
Yeah.
Um,
And
okay.
global, which is really fun in a global trade war. I
And
mean,
God, their trade software, which I know that they've invested in heavily. Gosh, I bet that's just burning a hole in someone's pocket just
yeah.
because it's just so much data, so much information you have to sort through, customs and fees and
I-
ever changing and
One man's headache is another man's job security.
yes. I mean that, yeah, that's very well put.